and you are.
Through days when the cupboards were bare, when prayers were my din and tears filled the air. I've seen the sun hide behind clouds of fear, but somehow, Lord, I knew you were near. Bills on the table, heart feeling weak, fade like a whisper, too tired to speak. But you fed my soul when the world turned away. You showed me love in the strangest way. Every time I thought I'd reach my end, your mercy came and broke through again. When I thought the storm would never subside, you reminded my heart you will provide. When I have nothing left, you're still more than enough. You lift my empty hands, you fill my cup. You make the barren bloom, you breathe where it's dry. When I have nothing left, God, you still provide. When I have nothing left, I still have you. You've been my shelter, my hope, my truth. In the silence and struggle, in the tears I've cried, you never failed me. You always provide. I've carried the weight of unanswered prayers, but even in silence, I felt you there. You've been a calm in my trembling chest, the still small voice that says be at rest. I've seen your hand when the door was closed. You open windows nobody knows. You've sent angels in human.
Governor General, His Excellency Sir Rodney Williams, all honorees, Pastor of the Bethesda Methodist Church, Reverend John T. Morose, and Brother Emmanuel, other invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's indeed a pleasure for me as one of the board members of the Bethesda School Heritage Foundation, Inc., to welcome all of you here this afternoon to this, the 5th edition of the Bethesda School Foundation, Inc. Vigo Blake Distinguished Awards. Where you sit is actually the site where the first school for the British West Indies for freed slaves was actually built, established in 1813. So we're sitting on historical grounds. And so we want to welcome all of you this afternoon warmly. It's a bit warm on the outside, so yes, it is a very warm greeting. But as the evening progresses, that you will actually feel that gentle breeze that the Thwaites felt when they chose the site for the school. So once again, welcome all. This afternoon, the pleasure is mine to introduce our Master of Ceremonies. He's no stranger to the microphone. As a matter of fact, he's no stranger to any platform. And an activist in his own right. And a man with roots in the village of Bethesda, being a de Freitas. And so we want to welcome warmly, again, to the microphone our MC for today, Mr. Franz de Freitas. Please welcome him.
Good afternoon, everyone. Foster, thank you for the kind introduction. Your Excellency, Sir Rodney Williams, Governor General of Antigua and Barbuda, distinguished members of Parliament and government officials, members of the clergy, members of the Vigo Blake family, officers and members of the Bethesda Sports and Historical Foundation, invited guests, residents of Bethesda, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is both a tremendous honor and a profound privilege to serve as your Master of Ceremonies for this year's Vigo Blake Day celebrations. Allow me first to express sincere appreciation to the Bethesda Sports and Historical Foundation, Inc., and all those who have worked tirelessly behind the scenes to make today's event possible. Whenever you see an organized event, just know that there are some people doing some work who are not taking the credit for that work. In a time when many communities are losing touch with their history, this organization continues to perform an invaluable service by preserving memory, honoring achievement, and ensuring that future generations understand whose shoulders they stand upon. Organizations such as this remind us that history is not merely about dates and documents. History is about people. History is about sacrifice. History is about vision. And today we gather to celebrate a man whose life embodied all three. The great historian Carter G. Woodson once observed, "A people who have no record of what their foreparents have accomplished lose the inspiration which comes from the teaching of biography and history." Today is about inspiration. Today is about gratitude. Today is about remembering that greatness can emerge from villages, communities, and ordinary circumstances when extraordinary character is present. Vigo Blake was more than a name. He was a symbol of service. He was a symbol of leadership. He was a symbol of commitment to community. His story forms a part of the larger story of Antigua and Barbuda, a story of resilience, determination, faith, and progress. This afternoon, we shall celebrate through prayer, music, culture, reflection, recognition, and fellowship. Along the way, I invite each of you not merely to listen, but reflect. Reflect upon what legacy are you creating. Reflect upon what contribution are you making. Reflect upon what future generations will say about us when our chapter is written. As an African proverb reminds us, when an elder dies, a library burns. Today, we gather to ensure that the library of Vigo Blake's life remains open for generations yet unborn. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting this tradition. And thank you for helping preserve the story of Antigua and Barbuda's distinguished sons. May this celebration inspire us all. With that, I will call at this time on Reverend John T. Morose to offer us prayers to begin formally our proceedings today.
Good afternoon, my sisters and brothers. May I invite you to stand if you are able for the opening prayer. Let us pray. Almighty God, our Heavenly Father, Father of mercy and God of grace, God of love, God of compassion. We acknowledge that whenever we gather together, there you are in our midst. And on this beautiful day that you have made, we are gathered together in this holy ground as we acknowledge your presence with us. Therefore, the acknowledgement of your presence with us causes us to bow before you with humble hearts as we adore and worship you, the God of gods, the Lord of lords, the King of kings, the eternal. The God who was with us in the past, the God who is with us today, and the God who promises to be with us always, even unto the end. On this beautiful day, we join the members of the Bethesda School Heritage Foundation, Inc., as a pause to celebrate the 213th anniversary of the Bethesda School. On this, the 5th edition of Vigo Blake Distinguished Community Award Service. We pause to recognize the contributions and services of those who have contributed to the life of this community to make it what it is today. Especially we give you thanks for Vigo Blake and all that he meant to this community. As we pause, we give you thanks for all that they have accomplished over the past years and the vision that you have given to them to continue the work that he has started. By your real presence, bless these proceedings. And may all that we do this afternoon may be a source of inspiration for those who will come after us. As the members of this great body seek to expand and develop this great community, the Bethesda community. May your name be glorified in all that is done. There's another mercies we ask through Jesus Christ, your Son, our Lord and Savior. Amen. We pray together the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. You may be seated.
Thank you, Reverend Morose, for that prayer. Leadership is not measured by position alone, but by stewardship. The preservation of heritage requires vision, and it requires commitment. To bring opening remarks on behalf of the Bethesda Sports and Historical Foundation, please welcome its chairman, Mr. Ralph G.A. Bowen.
Good evening or good afternoon, my brothers and sisters. I will not fault France too much for saying Sports Foundation, but it is the Bethesda School Heritage Foundation, and I have corrected my brother, who I know is not opposed to be corrected. It is indeed my pleasure on behalf of the board of the Bethesda School Heritage Foundation to welcome you once again to this event. This is an event that each year gives me goosebumps. When I sit here or stand here to address you, and I'll be short, I promise, I always cast my mind back to 1813. What life must have been in this area. We know there were no houses all around. In fact, this was a cleared area cleared specifically to build the school. We know that our ancestors were living under horrific, inhumane conditions. We know that they were enslaved. They were not slaves, they were enslaved. And it is important when we speak our story that we define it in the manner in which it truly was. They didn't do anything but exist. They were captured, their freedom taken. They were exploited for the benefit of someone else. But in the midst of all that suffering, our story records that there was a gentleman by the name of Vigo Blake, because he lived on Blake's estate. And we know that all of our enslaved ancestors, we were stripped of our names, we were stripped of our language, we were stripped of our culture, we were stripped of our dignity, we were dehumanized. In fact, we were not even considered human because we were traded just as cattle and sheep and goat and any other chattel was traded for the benefit of someone else. But in the midst of all that suffering, Baba Vigo recognized that education was important. And while there was already a movement to educate enslaved people in the privacy of homes, in small gatherings, he recognized that it would be important to expand that operation to all of the people. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Bethesda, Christian Hill, I can't leave out Christian Hill, and the surrounding communities, if you look to this would be northeast, that would be Blake's estate in the flat area. On the hill, that would be Lyons estate. Then you would have, where's Foster O'Donnell? Cochrane, which is on the hill at the bottom. There were like 3 or 4 estates that connected in this area. And our story tells us that Elizabeth Hart Thwaites and her husband Charles Thwaites they were already educating people in Sunday school, the children of our enslavers. They would journey from English Harbour to Lyons, and they would pass this area. So when it came time, when our ancestor Baba Vigo approached them to say, if we build a school, would you educate our children? They were already predisposed to doing this, and they readily agreed. And he further said, if you get the enslaver to give us the land, we will build the school. Baba Vigo and his colleagues, in 6 weeks, built Bethesda School, a building 16 feet by 44 feet, which was right in this area where the Methodist Church now sits. They didn't have Jews, plumbing, to go shop for materials. They had to cut the wood, they had to make the logs, and they had to find the trash for the roof. We're told that the building was a wooden building with dirt floor and trash roof. But on May 29th, 1813, when the school opened its doors, 500 of our people showed up to be educated. 500. This was the first successful revolution to take place in Antigua and Barbuda. We know of King Court's effort, and we know how that ended. But Baba Vigo succeeded. Because what may have seemed non-threatening, what may have seemed something that the enslaver could accept, they allowed the school to go through, education came to our people, and just imagine the revolutionary impact when our people for the first time could read, could write, could count. Sadly, I'm not going to be long because, again, I know that our good Governor General has to leave. I have a lot more to say, but I have lots of opportunities to say. First, I want to congratulate all of the honorees. We thought it fit to recognize the people in our community who continue to serve, just as Baba Vigo and his colleagues did, who continue to serve their communities by ensuring that children are educated, minds are molded, sports capacities are harnessed, and our people continue to reach the zenith of our accomplishment. We were not freed, then became great. We were great, exceptionally so even, and then we were enslaved. Unfortunately, too many of us remained enslaved long after the chains of bondage fell. For while we were physically freed, our minds remained hopelessly locked in enslavement. Baba Vigo was able to see beyond his chains. He was able to see beyond his bondage. For while he was physically enslaved, I submit that his mind remained truly free. So as mentally freed enslaved men, and as a mentally freed enslaved man, he was able to imagine a school and education for his people. Correspondingly, and sadly so, freed but mentally enslaved men would shut the doors Baba Vigo built. But our chains have long fell off of our minds, and our minds are forever free. So we will build, you and I, and all those who are willing to join the effort. We will build, and we opened a reimagined Bethesda School, befitting the initiative and accomplishments of Baba Vigo and his fellow emancipated colleagues. Anything less makes us traitors to the cause of liberation and unworthy of the sacrifices of our ancestors. I invite you to join us. Join Baba Vigo. Let us prove our worth with ownership of this responsibility. It takes each and every one of us to do our part so that a reimagined Bethesda School will once again flourish, educating our people from now into eternity. Madase. By the way, that means thank you. I'm not in Spanish.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen, for those insightful and inspiring thoughts. A nation demonstrates its maturity by how it honors those who have contributed to its development. We are privileged this afternoon to receive greetings from the Governor General of Antigua and Barbuda. Please welcome His Excellency Sir Rodney Williams.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Master of Ceremonies. I want to recognize all the people on the platform, but especially Mr. Ralph Bowen, the chairman of the board of the Bethesda School Heritage Foundation, Inc., and other members of the foundation, the distinguished honorees, and members of the Bethesda Methodist Church community. I also see in the audience when I was coming in, Dr. Colin Green and his wife, Dr. Jonah Green. And I would not expect them to be absent because Dr. Colin Green was president of the Union of Teachers for many years, especially when I served as Minister of Education. And I cannot forget when he invited me to Zimbabwe to a conference by Education International where I met Mugabe at the time. So I always remember that. And his wife, the president of ABCAS, is also doing a wonderful job. And I want to recognize all the other persons. That I know Brother Reverend John T. Rose, and I saw Reverend Thomas, I think somewhere there, and several other people. And I see, is that my friend, the historian? Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, now, I just want to say how happy I am to be here this afternoon. And my wife joins me, in as much as she wasn't able to be here this afternoon, for this meaningful observance as we celebrate the legacy of Bethesda School and honor the memory, the vision, and contribution of Vigo Blake. I must share with you, as was said by the chairman, that I have another engagement, but not just another engagement. I have 3 more engagements for the evening. And the next one starts at 4 o'clock, but ADC, please call them and tell them we'll be there. Yes. But I had to be here because I remain a strong supporter of communities coming together and working together to recognize outstanding achievement and to preserve their heritage and to celebrate those whose service and sacrifice have sought to strengthen our communities and strengthen our nation. When I took up the position as Governor General with my wife in 2014, I must say that one of the things that I spoke about and that I identified for advocacy and national focus was the history and heritage. And we did so at the time because history is far more than the retelling of old stories. History reminds us of who we are. It teaches us valuable lessons about perseverance, courage, resilience, and vision. It also reminds us of the struggles and sacrifices of those who labored to lay the foundation on which we stand today. The story of Bethesda School is one such powerful example. To reflect on the establishment of a school for the education of black people in the British West Indies in 1813, more than 20 years before emancipation, is both inspiring and humbling. And I heard the chairman this afternoon speak about inspiration, and so it certainly is one that is inspiring and humbling. The vision and determination of Vigo Blake, an enslaved man, together with those who worked under difficult circumstances to construct this institution, represent a remarkable chapter in the history of Antigua and Barbuda. Their actions demonstrated a profound understanding that education is one of the greatest instruments of empowerment and transformation. They recognize that knowledge opens doors. They also recognize that knowledge elevates communities and it creates opportunities for future generations. In fact, education is one of the most outstanding building blocks of any nation. The foundation that they established has continued to influence lives for more than 2 centuries. Today, as we honor individuals through the Vigo Blake Distinguished Community Service Award, we continue the tradition of recognizing those who quietly and faithfully serve others. Too often, the individuals who work in the trenches within our communities are not adequately recognized for their dedication and sacrifice. Yet it is these very individuals who help to strengthen our families, uplift our communities, mentor our young people, preserve the values, and inspire hope. I therefore want to commend the Bethesda School Heritage Foundation for ensuring that these contributions are acknowledged and celebrated. In doing so, you are preserving not only a building or a name, but also the spirit, values, and lessons associated with this historic institution. Ladies and gentlemen, heritage preservation is not simply about maintaining monuments or protecting artifacts. It is about safeguarding identity, memory, culture, and national consciousness. People who understand their history are better able to appreciate their blessings. They are better able to confront their challenges and shape their future. As Antigua and Barbuda continues to develop, may we never lose sight of the sacrifices of those who came before us. May we continue to honor their struggles by building stronger communities, by continuing to invest in education, by supporting one another, and preserving the rich heritage of our nation. On behalf of my wife and myself, I extend sincere congratulations to all the honorees and heartfelt appreciation to the organizers of this very important event. And may the legacy of Vigo Blake continue to inspire generations to come. May God bless all of you, and may God continue to bless Antigua and Barbuda. Thank you very much.
May we all stand for the departure of His Excellency Sir Rodney Williams. Thank you. At this time, music possesses a remarkable ability to tell stories that words alone cannot tell. Please welcome once again the Royal Antigua and Barbuda Police Band to our stage, performing 2 pieces this afternoon, Faithful National and I Vow to Thee. Give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Another round of applause. Look here, y'all gonna have to clap when people do things here. Another round of applause for the Royal Antigua and Barbuda Police Band. Thank you so much for your contribution. Our culture remains alive simply because each generation finds new ways to express that culture. And we're going to continue the celebration this afternoon by listening to Essence Band as they present for us this afternoon. Essence Band, ladies and gentlemen. give them a better round of applause than that. These young artists in Antigua and Barbuda, a powerful, historic rendition that all of us should hold close to our history and our culture. At this time, I am going to invite the individual tasked with introducing the speaker for today. The future is shaped by ideas, and ideas are often shaped by great speakers. To introduce today's featured speaker, please welcome Mr. Ian Joseph.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Bethesda. Welcome to Sacred Ground. Before I officially introduce the speaker, I can recall, and there are a few people here who were here from the first installment of the Vigo Blake Day. We started, it was a morning, it rained, and the church graciously moved us indoors. And one of the faces I can remember was there is E. and Henry. And for every event, she's always here with us. I think by now she's one of us? Okay, yeah, she's one of us. So my task is to introduce Miss Henry. Anne E. Henry has been an attorney at law in practice as a criminal lawyer, then as a civil lawyer since 1981. Her first 2 years were spent as a prosecutor in the BVI, and the next 24 years have been spent at the civil bar in Antigua and Barbuda. Trained in the West Indies at the University of the West Indies and at the law school operated by the Council of Legal Education of the West Indies, and has worked vigorously as a lawyer and as an administrator, as chair of the Council of the Legal Education, having sat on that council for upward of 10 years. More recently, she has given service to the Judicial and Legal Service Commission for the Caribbean Court of Justice, which has the responsibility for administration of that court. In addition to these, she has served as a judicial officer in the Magistrate Court and the Industrial Court of Antigua and Barbuda, and the High Court and the Court of Appeal of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, and has a keen interest in governance, and in that context has been engaged in the study of our history to gain a better insight as to the foundation for governance and for those persons influenced by our development as a nation, including the feature that we are doing this afternoon, Vigo Blake. It gives me pleasure, and I can say when our name came up, it was unanimous. So it gives me pleasure to bring Miss E. and Henry to the microphone today.
Thank you very much. I think this mic may be a little high for me. Yeah, I think so. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is my distinct honor and privilege to stand before you today as we reflect on the life and legacy of one of Antigua and Barbuda's great sons, Vigo Blake. Maybe I should adopt the name that Ralph has referred to him as Baba Blake. Joy Lawrence, Petra Williams, Barbara Arundel, Joanne Hillhouse, and many other persons, some unknown to me, for sharing their knowledge, from which I have benefited in preparing for today. 5 years ago, in May 2021, many of us, for the first time, learned the name of Vigo Blake. Since then, we have gathered together every last Sunday in May to remember him and to celebrate his legacy. The story is told that the Thwaites sisters and their husbands, Methodist missionaries, themselves free black women, sought to establish a school to teach enslaved people, and they had spotted a beautiful site, our present location, on which they wished to have the school, no doubt to create a more formal framework for the fledgling education then being afforded to enslaved persons by other enslaved persons across the estates in Antigua and Barbuda. My apologies. I'm so accustomed to referring to us as Antigua and Barbuda, but the story really is peculiar to Antigua. We are told that when Vigo Blake learned of this idea of the Thwaites sisters, he promised them that once permission was given by the landowner for the land to be used for the school, he would get his fellow enslaved to build the school. Permission was given, and led by Vigo, for the next 6 weeks, his team of enslaved men, women, and children devoted their evening and early morning hours to building what would eventually become the first formal schoolroom built to teach enslaved people in Antigua, which was opened on the 29th of May, 1813. As Ralph has already indicated, it was a structure of 44 feet by 16 feet, with a roof made of the trash of sugarcane and a floor made of raw earth. And when it was finished and ready, during the daytime, elderly, disabled, and those unable to work on the plantations came. And in the evenings, between 200, 300, sometimes more enslaved persons engaged on the plantations came to learn to read and to write, to gain basic literacy skills, which importantly allowed them to pass on their knowledge to others. Poetry, Bible passages were a primary source for teaching in that era before emancipation. Because we will remember that in 1813, although the slave trade had officially been abolished in 1807, Antigua was a British colony whose society, economy, and politics were dominated by the sugar plantation system and slavery. The enslaved were denied freedom. They were denied opportunity for advancement. They were property, chattels, owned by slave owners. The story of the establishment of the school by the work and efforts of Vigo Blake, an enslaved man in that era, was nothing short of amazing. But the Vigo Blake story is much more than the retelling of a historical event. It is a story of community and governance, because governance speaks of the way in which a community organizes itself, how people are empowered, how opportunities are created, and how the community prepares future generations to participate fully in national life and to strengthen and make sustainable and resilient the community for the long term. When viewed through that lens, Vigo Blake was not simply a historical person who built a school. He was a nation builder. He was an early advocate for empowerment. He helped lay the foundations for the education of his people, a foundation on which I and all of us now stand. In the early 19th century, at a time when enslaved people were denied freedom, denied opportunity, denied the right to learn, Vigo Blake understood something revolutionary, that knowledge is power. He understood that literacy and education was more than learning to read words on a page. Education meant dignity. It meant self-worth. It was liberation of the mind. Education was preparation for leadership and national engagement. And so, because he had the vision and understood the possibilities, Vigo Blake became associated with the establishment of what is now recognized as the first schoolroom for enslaved people in what was then called the British West Indies at Bethesda in Antigua, where we now are. Think about the significance of that. At a time when systems were designed to exclude, he created inclusion. At a time when ignorance was imposed, he promoted enlightenment. At a time when people were denied a voice, he invested in the future voices of a nation, our voices. That is governance in its purest and most transformative form. Good governance does not begin in the halls of power or in government. It begins in communities. It begins in families. It begins in classrooms. It begins when ordinary people decide to uplift others. It begins when people have the opportunity to learn and be empowered through education. Today, throughout the world, countries speak about sustainable development, democratic participation, transparency, accountability, and citizen engagement. Yet, all of those ideals depend on one fundamental requirement: an informed and empowered people. Without education, democracy weakens. Without civic understanding, accountability suffers. Without opportunity, inequality grows. Without historical consciousness, nations lose direction. Vigo Blake understood this long before modern governance frameworks and development theories were ever written. His contribution reminds us that education is not simply a social service. It is an instrument of national development and democratic stability. An educated population is better able to understand its rights, demand accountability, contribute ideas, and participate meaningfully in public life. And that is why the story of Vigo Blake remains profoundly relevant today. As Antigua and Barbuda continues to evolve, we face modern governance challenges, strengthening public trust, preserving democratic institutions, promoting integrity and accountability, pursuing and ensuring equal opportunity for all, engaging young people, and protecting our national identity in a rapidly changing world. These are not challenges that government alone can solve. Overcoming those challenges requires citizens who are engaged and committed to the common good, and importantly, are informed and educated. And this brings us directly back to the legacy of Bethesda and Vigo Blake. The Bethesda School represents more than education. It represents community empowerment. It represents hope. It represents the belief that people, regardless of status or circumstance, possess inherent worth and potential. That lesson still matters. Today, when we invest in education, we invest in governance. When we preserve our history, we strengthen our national identity. When we teach civic responsibility, we strengthen democracy. And when we empower young people, we secure the future. And there's another important lesson in the Vigo Blake story: the power of local leadership. History often celebrates those who hold high official titles, occupy high office, or command political authority. But many of the people, you know them, who truly transformed our societies have done so quietly, through service and sacrifice within their own communities. Vigo Blake reminds us that leadership is not confined to government office, because we know he held none. Leadership is influence. Leadership is vision. Leadership is the courage to improve the lives of others. In every generation, nations require people who are willing to build rather than merely criticize. People who are willing to educate rather than divide. People who are willing to serve rather than simply seek power and wealth. That is the kind of leadership our region continues to need. That is the kind of leadership that Vigo Blake exemplified. And so today, as we honor Vigo Blake, we are not merely remembering the past, we are being challenged in the present. We are challenged to ask ourselves, how are we investing in our own people? What guidance are we providing? How are we preparing our youth for citizenship and the responsibilities of leadership? What real opportunities are they being given? How are we strengthening integrity and accountability in national life? How are we preserving the values that define us as a people? More importantly, what is the legacy that we, individually and collectively, will leave behind? That's something to think about. Because the true measure of a nation is not only its economic progress or development. The true measure of a nation is the strength of its people, the character of its people, the quality of its institutions, the depths of its values, and its commitment to justice, opportunity, and human dignity. Vigo Blake's life speaks directly to those ideals. His legacy reminds us that transformation often begins with a single act of vision, one classroom, one opportunity, one decision to uplift others. And from that beginning came generations of learning, growth, leadership, and national development. That is the enduring power of education. That is the enduring power of community. And that is the enduring power of good governance. As we celebrate Vigo Blake Day, I urge that we not simply admire history from a distance, but rather that we draw inspiration from it. May we recommit ourselves to building a society where education is valued, integrity is protected, accountability characterizes our national public life, communities are empowered, young people are inspired, human dignity is prioritized, and good governance is rooted in service to the people. And if we do that, then the legacy of Vigo Blake will continue not only in memory, but in action. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anne, for those inspiring and insightful words this afternoon on this important occasion. The only thing that can follow Anne's presentation is music. Music from an instrument that probably is the most recently created instrument, and from a group with a number of young people that I know from since they were starting out playing pan down in Villa. We want to put our hands together this afternoon and welcome the Rising Stars Steel Orchestra on one of the instruments, steel pan, the greatest Caribbean gift to the world. Welcome the Rising Stars Steel Orchestra, ladies and gentlemen. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for the Rising Stars Steel Orchestra. And as we were appreciating the music, Ralph indicated to me that they have been here for all 5 years. And I want to give them a round of applause for consistency at this particular event. At this time, we are going to make ourselves ready for the awards ceremony. Recognition is one of society's highest form of gratitude. Sometimes in Antigua and Barbuda, we're not very good at recognizing people, but today we pause to honor individuals whose contributions have strengthened our communities and enriched our nations. At this point, I call on the presenters to award those who have been selected this year for the Vigo Blake Awards. Please welcome our presenters today.
I don't often get to adjust the mic upwards, but Franz, I think Ian is indicating to me that I need to do something, so let me check my phone. So I want to recognize the superintendent of the Methodist Church, who is instrumental in approving us using the church grounds, Reverend Dr. Cuthbert Edwards. If you could just stand or wave so people know who you are. All right, there you go. Thank you very much. I would add, Reverend Doctor, that the Methodist Church should appreciate the fact that we allowed you to use Bethesda School. Because the story truly is that when the Methodist Church, for many of you who may not know, as was the Anglican Church, if you look after the ceremony, you could come this area and look over the water. That was Bridgetown, where the rehab center was. That was actually a thriving town. And there was an earthquake or tsunami that destroyed the entire town. The Anglican Church was moved stone by stone to where it is now, the St. Philip's Church, on top of the hill. I guess the Anglicans figure out that the tsunami not coming up there the next time around. And the Methodists needed a hill as well. And because the teachers of the Bethesda school were Methodists, then they co-opted our school. So literally until 1961 or 61, when the new school was built, that was subsequently closed, the church and the school operated in this building. So, Reverend Doctor, if you didn't know, as Boldface said, the hardest thing is to know. And when you don't know, you just don't know. But I suspect that you actually knew this. So, but thank you nonetheless, as well as the current pastor and parishioners here, or members here. So our first awardee is the only female in the group, so it's only befitting, not only because she's the only female, but because she has a rather distinguished resume. So we're going to ask Miss Rona Rosita Ainita Edwards to come to the floor. Mambo, you ready? Mambo, I'm that wide. No, you're trying to suggest. I don't know what you're trying to say. I'm not that wide. Anyways, let me go from the spectaculars. Better. Rona Rosita Ainita Edwards is a retired educator being honored for an extraordinary 37-year career in teaching and a lifetime of service to her community. Throughout her years in education, she shaped and inspired generations of students with dedication, compassion, and an unwavering commitment to learning. Rosita's educational journey began at the Freetown Primary School, continued at the Pilgrim Holiness High School, and culminated with teacher training at the Antigua State College, foundations that prepared her for a life devoted to teaching and mentorship. Rosita taught at the Freetown and Newfield Primary Schools before spending the majority of her teaching career at the Bethesda Primary School, where she faithfully served for many years and ultimately retired as acting principal. During her time in Bethesda, she developed a deep love for the people of Bethesda and Christian Hill. How can you not? Forming lasting connections with farmers, families, and generations of students whose lives she helped shape. Rosita's faith and commitment to service have been central to her life. A devoted member of the Methodist Church, she represented the circuit at several Leeward Islands district synods and served faithfully as both a class leader and steward. Her dedication to youth development is especially reflected through her long-standing service with the Girls Brigade, where she served as a captain and a training officer, traveling throughout the Caribbean to mentor, train, and empower young leaders. Beyond education and church work, Rosita has been an active community advocate, contributing to humanitarian and volunteering efforts, including service with the American Red Cross and voluntary aid attachment. She always had a love for nature and gardening, but her love for farming blossomed through her close relationship with local farmers in Bethesda, including the Reverend Vincent Sterling. Since retirement, Rosita has devoted her time to farming, continuing to nurture the land and promote sustainability within her community. Her passion inspired her to spearhead the creation of a thriving community garden, providing fresh produce, sharing agricultural knowledge, and encouraging community collaboration and self-sufficiency. She also played a key role in the restoration of the Freetown Village Reservoir, helping to ensure a dependable water source for villagers whenever the main pipe is off, which is often an ongoing challenge in the community. Her commitment to service extends to supporting inclusive development initiatives, ensuring that opportunities, resources, and support systems are accessible to all members of the community, including those who are often overlooked or disadvantaged. Rosita has provided raw materials for the school for the blind, where they are used in the production of baskets and other craft items, helping to support skills, training, and economic empowerment. She also helped an individual who was visually impaired learn the foundational skills required to gain admission into regular school, demonstrating her belief that every person deserves the opportunity to learn and thrive. Her commitment to preserving and strengthening community heritage is also reflected in her work at the Freetown Methodist Cemetery, where she led efforts to clean and restore the grounds. Her work helped transform the cemetery into a place of dignity and peace, where families are no longer afraid to enter and can now locate and visit the graves of loved ones with ease and comfort. Even in retirement, Rosita continues to teach by tutoring youngsters in the village, helping them to prepare for exams, build confidence, and stay on track academically so they do not fall behind in class. Through these efforts, Rosita continues to mentor others, promote environmental stewardship, and strengthen the spirit of cooperation and resilience within her village. Her life's work stands as a powerful testament to service, faith, education, and the lasting impact of caring deeply for both people, community, and the environment. With that, the Bethesda School Heritage Foundation presents to Rosita Ainita Edwards the Vigo Blake Distinguished Community Service Award in Education, Community Development, and Activism.
Good afternoon to everyone. I am grateful to be here this afternoon and to receive such special words on behalf of myself, my family. I want to say thanks. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. It's worth it to put in. What you put in is what you get out. Sometimes you don't, but I stand here very proud and happy and pleased to know that I'm recognized as a very special person. God bless you all.
Our next honoree is Juno D. Samuel. Juno Samuel began his life in Bethesda. His home was on the main street, which runs through the village to Christian Hill. As a little boy, he enjoyed the measure of country life, which provided the freedom to roam the byways and open spaces. He loved being a country boy. Juno began his schooling at the Bethesda School, and at the time, all schooling activities were conducted in the Methodist Church building we see here today. This was the 1940s, and sugar was king. The sugar industry consumed and directed the lives of old and young. The grinding demands of the industry required and demanded the service of children's education, and several school days were sacrificed on the altar of profits. On Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays, the schoolroom was an education desert, with a few of us having the whole place to ourselves. Juno remembers being in class all alone on some of those days. The other children were out in the fields helping their parents scrounge for a living. It was this injustice and miseducation which helped shape Juno Samuel's passion for education and dedication to this teaching profession for more than half a century. By the age of 11, Juno Samuel was enrolled at the Antigua Grammar School. The school conducted its own admission exam along with other quaint processes to select its students. There were only 2 boys from Bethesda who were selected at that time. Despite Juno's love for home, he had to reside in St. John's on school days due to the lack of daily bus service to and from Bethesda. Juno hated living in St. John's. Bethesda was and is his home, Bethesda was in his bones. So at the crack of dawn on Saturday mornings, he would rush to the bus station to catch a bus, which was headed to Bethesda. A few years later, he persuaded his mother to allow him to ride a bicycle from Bethesda to school daily. Yeah, we can understand. You still look fit. This was his freedom from St. John's and to experience the joy of the open road. Even though daily bus service was later established, he continued his daily ride and at times could be seen racing those big... You know race shack? Shack. Racing those big wooden buses to and from St. John's. The Bethesda and Christian Hill sporting culture was all-embracing cricket. It was all-embracing. Cricket was dominant and there was always keen rivalry throughout the village. The boys played cricket on every available patch of land, and number 7, the field where we played, was the mecca of the sport. It was a daily activity and we played the game daily until nightfall. Finally, school days came to an end and Juno Samuel became a teacher. His career began at the same Methodist Church Hall where he returned to make his mark. Teacher Juno, or Mr. Samuel, was well known for his strict disciplinary regime and relentless drive for his students to be excellent. He commanded 2 classes and to this day, the students remember his dedication and passion for them to succeed. Their parents and grandparents did not have the opportunity to maximize their potential. So now he was on a mission to make sure that the children and grandchildren of that generation were not lost. Juno Samuel taught with passion and played sports with the same ferocity. He taught the boys to play cricket with the relentlessness that brought them success. And Bethesda School won the primary school cricket national competition for the first and only time in that era. After 5 years, Junior Samuel was selected to attend the Leeward Islands Teachers College. Upon completing the program, he was assigned to the Bethesda School and was appointed headmaster 1 year later. Junior D. Samuel of Bethesda became the first person from the village to become the head teacher at Bethesda School. Junior Samuel was the first to become the head teacher. Thank you. Upon Juno's leadership, his wonderful and supportive staff, most of whom were from Bethesda, were considered a progressive force in education. School life and social activities abounded as young people were enabled to find their voices and self-confidence. Junior Samuel left a legacy that has created a culture of success from the labors of sugar plantation, depression, and deprivation. A legacy where one can look back at the professionals who have emerged from this small village. Indeed, Junior Samuel had a hand in that. Junior Samuel traveled abroad, where he earned a BA and an MA degree. Upon his return, he taught at the Leeward Islands Teachers College and was subsequently assigned as acting head of Jennings Secondary School. His passion for education could not be diminished, as he set about moving Jennings School from obscurity to significant recognition. A new library was established as the demarcated space was void of a single book. By the time the project was completed, there were thousands of books with the teacher turned librarian as head of the project. We developed staff relations which were second to none, thus enabling the project to flourish. Junior Samuel introduced agricultural science at Jennings Secondary School in 1975, and the classes in woodwork set a standard that is etched in the memories of those students. Academic standards were raised, and his students at Jennings were finally being recognized. Jennings enhanced its standard, even though when it won the JC School Debating Competition twice consecutively. By this time, there was even a trickle of students from St. John's in attendance, making Jennings School a school of choice. The Jennings School exhibition in 1976 was a hallmark of our student-teacher never to be replicated. Junior Samuel was elected president of the Union of Teachers, and he immediately set out to advocate for an education system which would once and for all be made He had seen what could be done at both the primary and secondary school levels and believed passionately that change was necessary. Alas, the government of the day perceived his activities as too enlightening, too progressive, and too liberating, hence dangerous. An enlightened people would render backward-thinking leaders irrelevant, and a forward-moving agenda would eradicate manipulation and exploitation. So, the union had to be crushed. For 2 long years, the teachers' union fought back relentlessly. Junior Samuel did not just see a fight to liberate students and teachers, but a war on ignorance, miseducation, and mental. It was a war and a cultural genocide. It was a war against mere schooling with the urgent need to commence education with our history and critical thinking skills. In the end, the budding revolution was destroyed. Teachers were imprisoned and Junior Samuel was dismissed with several of his colleagues. He had to seek refuge abroad and spent a quarter of a century laboring in exile. It is to be noted that this injustice and lack of compensation were meted out despite the court's adjudication in favor of the teachers. Junior Samuel returned to Antigua to retire with the desire to serve Antigua again. He became chairman of the Antigua and Barbuda Electoral Commission, deputy chairman of the Social Security Board, and chairman of the Education Advisory Board. He suggested the introduction of a standardized high school diploma and the Leadership Education Institute, which were all abandoned. His most ambitious proposal was to establish the University of Antigua and Barbuda. The plan was prepared and ready for implementation. This was intended to take Antigua into the 22nd century. It was intended to be a crown jewel of the nation's achievement, but alas, it too was abandoned, and all is lost. Junior Samuel now observes Antigua descending into an abyss of mediocrity and wonders if there is any redemption. The Bethesda School Heritage Foundation commends and congratulates Mr. Juno D. Samuel for the Vigo Blake Distinguished Award in Service in Education and Community Activism.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the committee for presenting this award to me, and in particular to Mr. Ralph Boyne. Now, I know that Mr. Boyne, I want to take this privilege to recognize my wife, Dr. Euphemia Samuel, and she brought with her some of her family because I didn't know whether I still had a fan club in Bethesda, so I bought my own fan club. Let me say that when I look across the spectrum of education in Antigua today, I realize that a great deal of schooling is going on. All people are going to school. But education and schooling are two different things. And as I wrote before, those in authority, they're afraid of educated people. Now, many of you there today must understand, and I want you to be very clear, that you understand that what was done to us as a black people was that our thinking was erased, and the new thinking was imbued in our system so that the white man is still with us today. He's not there physically, but he's in your mind. And until we hit that erase button, when we went to school, you had an eraser. Now you have an erase button. Erase that and re-educate yourselves. Then things will not change. I myself, at one time, was a victim of this miseducation. Unfortunately for me, I landed at City University of New York, City College, and a whole new spectrum opened to me. It never occurred to me that what I was learning and what was taught to me at the Antigua Grammar School, the English history, not once did the word black man come up for the years that I learned history. And then when I got there at City College, I learned that, number one, that we had kings and princes and palaces long before the white man even knew how to dress. I realized and learned that we had kingdoms and learned that the great Egyptian empire was the longest lasting empire the world had ever seen, 3,000 years. I learned about Khufu and Khafra and Menkaure, even though I had seen the pyramids and didn't know that these were the names of the kings attached to those buildings. And you know, I also learned that there was a conference in Germany where these white people got together around the table, got the map of Africa, and drew lines around creating countries. England and Spain and Germany. And that is how we get these different countries, because those lines were not the natural lines. And you know, until we educate ourselves and understand these things, then no change will take place. As I said, one of the things that I wanted to see in Antigua and Barbuda is to see us have our own university, University of Antigua and Barbuda, where these lines could be pursued. And yet, though that was abandoned, along with many other things, I want to thank you, sir, for presenting this award. You know, I know that you believe something, and your organization believes.
I was about to say that the version of my good brother Kwabena, the version of his bio was shortened for purposes of today. And now you hear the thank you speech, you know, that's something really goes so. I'm sorry, I can't say it in Spanish, so for those of you who are expecting that. Now I'm going to invite my good brother, my colleague, my fellow panelists, Albert Paddy de Grio Simon Kwaku. We also have the same name, Kwaku. Kwaku is a boy born and raised there. Paddy wants to know how come we didn't tell him he could have wear Kwaku stuff. Next year. Albert Paddy Simon was born on the 31st of August, 1955. He is the last child and son of Mr. Jeremiah Darius and Mrs. Viola Pete Simon. He has 9 siblings, 5 brothers and 4 sisters. Being the youngest of his family, gravitating to elders came naturally to him. Paddy was raised by his parents, his grandmother, his siblings, as well as the elders within his community. Paddy's early schooling was done at Mrs. Joycelyn Williams School, Teacher Merle School, and Sister Caton's Preschool. His senior schooling took place at the Goodwill Academy, which was also known as Henry School. While enrolled, he excelled in the subject areas of geography, history, and human and social science. Due to close paternal bond while growing up, Mr. Simon was exposed to many conversations and interactions that his father had with his contemporaries while sitting on the rum shop counter. These encounters strongly influenced Paddy to be attracted to elders, or the 39ers as they were called, as his favorite people to converse with. And so, due to his early interactions with his elders from various parts of Antigua, as well as from all walks of life, Paddy was able to attain the knowledge of the lives and times of his people. Naturally, as time elapsed, most of the elders that he grew up with passed away. However, Paddy was able to retain the vast knowledge which was shared with him. Thanks to the advent of talk radio in Antigua and Barbuda some 14 years ago, Paddy was given the opportunity and platform where he could exercise his knowledge and recite the many stories that were passed on to him by the elders. Paddy would be the first to inform you that the credit given to him, especially for his knowledge of Antiguan and Barbudan history, is not for him, but rather the credit belongs to the elders before him who did not get the exposure that he was granted. Paddy has lectured about Antigua's history at various schools, churches, and many other places across the island, as well as in the diaspora in the United States. He is the recipient of many awards for his work as a griot, which means verbal historian, and has done many radio and television shows. His most outstanding achievement until now was when he was awarded the National Award of Most Illustrious Order of Merit, MM, by the nation of Antigua and Barbuda. Since 2022, Paddy has been my co-host at ABCRI's Constitution Corner, a show dedicated to educate Antiguans and Barbudans on the content of our Constitution and solicit ideas for amendments. That effort led to the first amendment to our Constitution on December 17, 2025, when our oath of allegiance was changed from the British monarch to the state of Antigua and Barbuda, its constitution and laws. And hear me. That effort led to the first amendment to our Constitution on December 17, 2025, when our oath of allegiance was changed for the first time from the British monarch to the state of Antigua and Barbuda, its constitution and laws. And Paddy, true to form, just tell me, that is after 390 years. Predates Bethesda School. Paddy is married to his high school sweetheart, Mrs. Janice Abbott Simon, who's here. They have two sons, Andre and Alfred, and a grandson, Andrew. A granddaughter as well, Akisa. For purposes of this award, this is Paddy in a nutshell. Because to do justice to the life and times of Paddy de Griot Simon, whose African name he and I share, Kwaku, it would take more than the amount of time we have allowed today. So, with that, Paddy, Albert Paddy de Griot Simon, a.k.a. Kwaku, you're awarded the Vigo Blake Distinguished Community Service Award for distinguished service in education, history, and community activism.
Well, you know. Good afternoon, everybody. First, let me say thank you to the Bethesda Community Foundation to award me this award this afternoon. Let me also say congratulations to my fellow awardees. Well, I know me, you know. When we go for chat, you have to tap me. Okay. So how we work? My name is Paddy Simon, and they call me the Griot, which is verbal historian. All right. You know, let me start out by saying first, for the last 10 years, you see these two gentlemen, Ralph Bowen and Franz de Freitas, are two of the greatest Antiguans me meeting in the last 10 years. You know why me stick on them like a sea beef on rock? Because when Ralph explained to me his foundation of education and what it means, I said, you had the right idea. In other words, he and Franz think, well, we just get an opportunity to go further into education. But our education is to the people who don't know, and we will teach them. I said, boy, look, are the best thing me ever hear. They're the only, well, Ralph is the only man from Antigua who go abroad. University of West Indies, University of America, and meet all the professors that you have to use wheelbarrow for carrying a credential. And he said the greatest teacher he ever had, Lucinda Payne from Bethesda School. For me, he showed me here the only man over the years proud of being a student of Bethesda School. So let me start how it works. I have no shame of it. I raised up in a rum shop. My father was a carpenter, a farmer, and a rum shop keeper. As I understand it, I was on the counter in a bath with some pillow. A poor people picking me big. All right. So all the elders who came in, they were speaking to this little child. In fact, my mother, before she died, said to me, Paddy, you must respect Mr. Mercier children and them, right? I didn't know who Mr. Mercier children were. Dr. Edithsburg people. She said, because Mr. Mercier, you as a baby came in and loved you so much, he gave me a bottle of goat milk every morning for you. So I didn't raise up on goat milk. And cow milk, sorry. I raised up on goat milk. Anyhow, as I said, I was told that a person learned more from 0 to 5 than any period of time in their life. When my headmaster told me that, I didn't feel comfortable with it. I went to Dr. O'Gara. She was the pediatrician, and she verified. I said, okay, good. That means that between 0 and 5, me upon the rum shop counting the bath, remember, I was raised by the 66ers and the 39ers. The 66ers are the generation who born from 1834 to 1900. And the 39ers are who born from 1900 to 1930, the greatest generation Antigua's had to date. Okay, Bethesda. Fortunate for me, even before I came here, I know about it before I came here physically. So how it works? You had this guy, Lala Martin, he was J. Martin's son. J. Martin was the second richest man in the pint in the 1920s, second to Robert Carty. Well, every time Lala come in, he used to boast. Oh, you know, when I went to grammar school, you know, V.C. Bird couldn't go. When I went to grammar school, so fortunate for me, it's not just here I heard things, you know. It was explained to me because I had the opportunity as the rum shop keeper's son to ask questions. So I asked why he couldn't go and you could go. He said because his father's name wasn't on his birth certificate. So one night he came in with that again. Here come this fellow from Bethesda now. I'm talking about 1961, 1962, when I was about 6 or 7 years of age. And as he came in and boasts about grammar school, 1884, the guy from Bethesda said, look, you're always talking about Antigua Grammar School, you know, but I've been to a school more important and historically value for black nigger picnic in Antigua than Antigua Grammar School, you know. He said, which school is that? He said, Bethesda School. You know, Bethesda School opened before slavery abolished, 1813, 21 years before slavery abolished. I heard that when I was 6 or 7, back in 1961, 62. And it's one of the things I boast when I go to America and do lectures and you have Jamaican, Guyanese, Bajan, Trinidadian in the crowd. When I said to them, I have university now, we had the first school for teaching black nigger picnic in the English-speaking Caribbean. They can't say nothing. These are the kind of things I boast about. And I tell you this much. Boss, if you really know Antigua history like me, you speak like how I speak and tell people, when me speak, pull your tiger deed. Because me not play. Wappy, it takes me a play. Because Antigua have more first than them. Antigua have the greatest history. And for me, as I said, whereas you have some foolish people in Antigua, because they come from an area, they're going to talk about their area only. Me, boss, me cover Antigua. And this is why when I speak, I say from Freetown to Five Island, from Hodges Bay to Carlisle Bay. Because when I'm in America, it's Antigua, it's not Pint. And anybody, any part of Antigua, proud, I am as proud as can be. One of the greatest men from up east, Mr. David Edwards. All these are the people who teach me. But you see them two gentlemen, when I speak, they think I flatter them. But me my dead and gone. But then go fulfill the position that me say for them, because then two men are going to run this country one these days. Thank you.
Take that in your waist, right? Our next awardee, Carl Edwin Taddy Arundel. Carl Taddy Arundel was born in Seaton's Village. He attended Seaton School and then later the Foundation Mixed School, more popularly known as Miss Davis School. Upon leaving primary school, he went on to the Antigua Grammar School. Taddy left Seaton's at the tender age of 10 years and moved to town. He lived at Clay Hall, Point area, and then he said, and then he settled in Overs. His cricketing journey began at the age of 13. He was mentored by the great Sir Vivian Richards, his cousin, in the Overs area, where cricket was the main sport played in those days in Overs pasture. Taddy credits his cricketing journey to Sir Viv and the Overs community for bringing out the best in him. Taddy went on to represent the island of Antigua and Barbuda and then the Leeward Islands. He also would like to credit his coaching to Mr. Fitzroy Brand, deceased, who saw him play the game and encouraged him to take on coaching. Thus, he coached the combined school and parish league teams. Taddy coached players like Winston and Kenneth Benjamin, Curtly Ambrose, Hamish Anthony, Dave Joseph, Sylvester Joseph, Kerry Jeremy, Ridley Jacobs, Foster Roberts. I didn't really make it to West Indies, but because I had to teach, but they went on to make it to West Indies. But he taught me too, he coached me too. If I tell you all the story about Taddy, Taddy's a wicked coach, you know. Taddy knew that I loved to hook. And so that afternoon that I was at Factory Ground, went down for the semi-professional league to play. And Taddy was coaching, and he tell Hamish, he tell Maggie, and who the next bowler? Short one from Liberta, Hungry. He tell all of them must bounce me, come love for hook. And Taddy set the field for the hook shot. And foolish me, hook the ball, and the man catch me down the long leg. The first ball now, first ball for the afternoon. And Taddy say, you stupid, come out the wicket, your batting done. All these players went on to play for the West Indies and made indelible mark on West Indies cricketing landscape and indeed the world. For Taddy, winning was everything. He coached the hard way. If you got out during practice, that was the end of your batting for the afternoon. If he knew that you loved to hook, Taddy would let the fast bowlers bowl you all the bouncers for the afternoon and set the field for the hook shot. If you love your batting, then you would restrain your hook shots for the afternoon. This taught you a certain discipline as a batsman, and for the bowlers too, to bowl according to the field set for you by the captain. For the fielder, please don't drop that catch, because if you drop it, you have several laps around Factory Ground after practice. Taddy Arundel did not seek the spotlight. He sought the standard, and Antigua and Barbuda is the richer for both. Taddy extends heartiest thanks to the Vigo Blake Day Committee for recognizing his contribution to cricket and sports in general. On behalf of the Bethesda School Foundation, Inc., we'd like to congratulate Carl Edwin Taddy Arundel for receiving the Distinguished Service Award for Coaching and Youth Development.
Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, it's difficult to follow my good friend Paddy, you know. But I see him almost every day when he comes to pick up his grandson or granddaughter. And I was told that I have the chest better than Paddy today. So the guys there told me that. So, but I must say something first. I heard my good friend there, Overs guy, France, say that rising stars. So I looked down and said, Hell's Gate. So typical Overs guy, you don't miss these things. When you go with Overs, that's the first thing you hear. And they make a mistake. Like I keep telling the guys when Vivishers play the recreation grounds, if it's close century, you get 2 chances. All here voting Overs is chances, not the good shots. You know, that's what's Overs. And his biggest critic was his father, Malcolm. I remember when Viv scored 291 at Overs, passing through. His father, ZDK, buying bread. So I said, old Mitch, if he scored 291, he said, can't bat. Shouldn't get out so. I thank God, you know, that was over for you. You know, but I try my best to dodge my good friend Ralph. I said, Ralph, what have I done to deserve this thing? All I ever do was try to help people, you know. My grandmother always tell me, I was given, don't receive nothing, does give. And that was Seaton's for you, you know. Like I was telling some friends in Seaton the other night. Seaton must be the smallest vigilante when I was growing up. They had about 30 houses. And My friends will tell me, well, Sydney's still the smallest. Up to this day, I don't realize it. I live in there, but I went back home since 1998. But I don't know when the housing season, no, but there are lots compared to when I used to be there. You know, so my good friend Wilford said, I try my best to dodge him, Mike. But he insists that I have to take this award. The guy deserves it. And I heard Jonah said too, he invited his fan club. So Jonah, I couldn't invite my fan club. They have thousands of people up here. I couldn't invite them at all, you know. And I invited them. You have to be on the playing field. No need to deal with this thing, right? You know? So I must thank the Vigo Blake committee still. And I say, I don't know what they've done to deserve it, guys. I just see them doing my job, you know. I just do my job and do it to my best of ability. And I don't miss one important person, a guy named Richard Wilson. And I must mention it, because it's very important. I remember when I did some coaching with him too, when I take over convent school, when Guy went away. He was my first captain. So when we were making our first tour to New York, I invited him and he came. And everybody disappointed, he just selected the West Indies team. Then 1987, we were going to Birmingham and said, hey, Rich, I wanted to captain the team because I wanted to practice it. Get something like a resume as captain, so when we retire, you can be captain. So he say, hey, coach, man, afterwards the captain, man, say, hey, this is parachute tour, not Antigua tour. I wanted the captain to get the resume. So we won all the matches on in Birmingham against England team and so on. Then 2 years after, he said to me, we want to take a team to England. So I said, Richie, that's expensive business. But I understand, he realized now, he wanted to build his resume to, when people retire, he can be the captain. So we put the team together, and everything worked out well for him. So I think a little bit heartened by the fact that we helped to get him there. So, you know, some people don't understand sometimes. You know, even that guy Curtis who you mentioned, I was my good friend, was a family Viv. He came back from one match. We done 4 years playing Sarah. He said to me, "We're looking for fans who want to replace Anthony Blake who got injured." And he said to me, they're planning to pick a guy for Anguilla named Proctor. And if they pick Proctor, he can bowl a new ball himself. I said, Viv, you can bowl a new ball. How you can bowl a new ball? So I have 2 fans, well, Factory, Ambrose and Walt. Come and see them tomorrow. And he came and he said he liked Ambrose, but Ambrose looked kind of weak. So I said to him, look, no countryman weak. No countryman weak. So we had a hard time picking him. But did get him on the team. He played the first match in Guyana. And after that, that's a real story, you know. You wouldn't believe it. I said to him, let's take him to England, because we had a connection in England every year. We sent somebody about a scholarship. So we sent out Ambrose's name, and you wouldn't believe it. This was like March now, that year. I got a call to say Ambrose too old for the scholarship. So I went to look at Kirtley. He was down by this cottage church in the back of, perhaps not by the Percival gas station. So I saw him and I said to Kirtley, boy, they say too old for the scholarship. Man, you look like you want to kill yourself. So I left one day, went to Viv house and said to him, look, hey Viv, Jimmy Crab, come outside. So he came, explained to him what is happening. I said, look, you anything you tell white people do, they do, man. We can make an exception this year. He saw Ambrose went off to England, and after that, there was no turning back. So I keep hearing people say that the boy Viv, let's say Viv don't do anything, but they don't know exactly what he's done in the background. He keep hearing these things that I know, because we work closely. Anything I want to get done, he do it for me. Because, you know, like typical Overlooks people, but you know, you get like a teasing, like a grinding in the end. This typical Overlooks people, you know. But thank you all for the committee. I must say, well, boy, I didn't look forward to anything like this, but having been here for a little half an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, I must tell you, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for this great award.
A couple of things I have to say about my good friend Taddy. Firstly, he cleans up very well, looking sharp in his suit. And it wasn't lost on me that he said when he was a child, There were only 13 houses in Seaton's. So 13, 1-3. So that tells me that Taddy could have been in the 500 in the first group of students at Bethesda School back in 1830. You know, you. But I'm glad you came, and I knew you would have had this experience. Now to another great cricketer by way of religion and education, Reverend Dr. Oral A.W. Thomas. Now you hear all them big cheer for Reverend Thomas, so you don't know he brought his chair in squad. And you know plenty Hamburg and Methodist people up here today. For those of you who don't know, Hamburg is the eastern part, lower eastern part of Bethesda. Oral Aldrich Walwyn Thomas is from the village of Bethesda, and wait a minute, I'm not going to read all that. I'm going to read. I'm going to read what you piss for Juno. You don't come up and tell me to read that. Juno's bio was the first 5 books of the Bible. Okay. Oral Aldrich Walwyn Thomas is from the village of Bethesda and was raised in a single-parent household. His mother, Mary Millett, nee Adams, ensured that he attended the Bethesda Methodist Church every week. This environment shaped his spiritual development and formed his theological perspective. Although Bethesda is a small village on a tiny island, it fostered an environment that nurtured big dreams. Oral, a talented batsman nicknamed Kanai by his peers after the legendary West Indian batsman, dreamed of playing for the West Indies cricket team. By God's grace, his dream came true. Between 1984 and 1987, he played for and later led the West Indies cricket team at the University of the West Indies. Mona campus. So not the senior team, but the inter-campus team, but it's still West Indies in Jamaica. He's the only theologue, I'm assuming that's how that's pronounced, UTCWI student to have received this honor. His presence at UTCWI was his obedient response to God's call to serve his church in the Caribbean as a Methodist minister. I must say that God has taken a couple of cricketers from Bethesda who would have gotten much further. I see one in the audience now in the form of Elman Joseph, also a prolific batsman, but got a call from God and became a Pentecostal minister and gave up. And he's also the recipient of a Vigo Blake Distinguished Award. Good afternoon, Reverend Joseph. In continuing faithfulness to that call, he further prepared himself at Eden Theological Seminary in the United States, where he graduated in 1996 with a master's degree in theological studies, and at Birmingham University in the United Kingdom, where he earned a PhD in biblical hermeneutics, Jerusalem. Coming from an island that boasts 365 beaches, Thomas was happily swum against the theological tide, following the path blazed by Caribbean Theology Project's pioneers. He has emerged as a leader in the second generation of Caribbean theologians who have sought to build and extend the pioneers' work. Iris Hamid, David Mitchell, Ashley Smith, William Watty, Burchell Taylor, and Lewin Williams were the early pioneers. This generation laid the foundation by sketching the broad outlines of a theology of and from the Caribbean. Building on their work, Thomas guides this generation to focus on theological themes and specific biblical books and texts. He clearly explains his development of a resistant reading strategy in his 2010 book, Biblical Resistance, Hermeneutics Within a Caribbean Context, and in numerous journal articles. He argues that Caribbean people must read the Bible strategically to overcome the disjuncture created between the religious life and the particularity of sociality and of existence. This is your PhD dissertation. As a lecturer in Caribbean theologies, and biblical hermeneutics at the UTCWI, he consistently encourages his students at both the undergraduate and graduate levels to read the Bible and proclaim the gospel through their Caribbean lens and to embrace the gift of their social location. Presently, Thomas is serving as the superintendent minister of St. Thomas, St. John Circuit since 2025, and as a pastor of the Christ Church and Trinity Methodist congregations within the circuit. Prior to this appointment, he served in the following capacities: pastor at Wesley and St. Thomas Methodist congregations in September 2024 to 2025, president and dean of UTCWI from 2019 to 2024, deputy president and dean of UTCWI 2015 to 2019, senior Methodist ministerial tutor and warden from 2012 to 2019, series editor of the Caribbean Journal of Religious Studies, 2012 to 2024, Methodist tutor from 2007 to 2012, lecturer in biblical hermeneutics and theologies in the Caribbean at UTCWI in Kingston, Jamaica from 2007 to 2024, superintendent minister of the Antiguan Circuit, September 2001 to August 2004, Leeward Islands District Conference Secretary from 2000 to August 2004, minister in the Antiguan Circuit from September 1996 to August 2004, circuit minister in the St. Thomas and St. John Circuit in the Virgin Islands from 1991 to 1994, ordained as a minister on February 2nd, 1990 in the Wesley Chapel, Bastille, St. Kitts, circuit minister in Nevis Circuit from 1987 to 1991, and teacher at the greatest secondary school in Antigua and Barbuda, the Pierce Secondary School, from September 1981 to June 1983, and he used to be my teacher. He has written several books: Biblical Resistance, Hermeneutics Within a Caribbean Context, Equinox Publishing Limited, England, UK in 2010, Contending Voices in Caribbean Theology, with, edits by Judith Soares and Oral Thomas, Jagaro Publishers in Kingston, Jamaica 2019, Reimagining Caribbean Methodism for Contemporary Missions, Faithworks Press in 2022, and 2025, the revised edition of Biblical Resistance, Hermeneutics Within a Caribbean Context by Author House Publishers in Bloomington, Indiana. So it is with great pleasure that the Bethesda School Heritage Foundation, Inc. presents the Reverend Dr. Oral A.W. Thomas, the Vigo Blake Distinguished Community Service Award for Distinguished Service in Education, Religion, and Sports.
I must begin by letting you know that I am mortally afraid of clapping. Now, when I used to bat here at the grounds at Bethesda and even at Pace School, you get clap when you're going to bat. And, all sort of excitement when you're going to bat. But then I went out to bat, last maybe 2 balls, 1 ball. And when I'm coming back, there's no clapping, there's no noise, nothing. I will go out to great applause, and I will return in hushed silence. So I am afraid of applause. Allow me, though, to recognize the persons on the platform here this afternoon. So the Freitas, our Master of Ceremonies, and Ralph, the Chairman of the Bethesda School Heritage Foundation, and, of course, for me, our sister, and Henry. I also, as I've heard this afternoon, to recognize the members of the Vigo Blake family who are here, of course, my fellow honorees, and of course, the Superintendent Minister of the Antigua Circuit, Reverend Dr. Cuthbert Edwards, who is originally from English Harbour. Allow me to offer the greetings of those among whom I serve and those who lead them. And so I do so on behalf of my colleague in ministry, Reverend Charles Seaton and his wife Lilita, our two circuit stewards, Sisters Paulina Umema and Janice Hodge Louis, and all the people called Methodists in the St. Thomas, St. John circuit. And if I have any sense and want to return to St. Thomas, let me also offer to you the greetings of my wife, Zola, because I'm sure if I don't, I better stay here. This afternoon, I accept this reward as a redemption of my humanity or my somebodyness. In 2007, I was invited to the Methodist Church in Holland. At the immigration counter at that big Schiphol airport in Holland, I think it's in Amsterdam, the immigration officer seemingly had the time of his life identifying where I was from. So I noticed he looked at my passport and he looked at me. He looked at my passport and he looked at me. And it was well over 45 minutes to an hour that I was standing at his window while a number of other flights came and go and all sorts of people come and go in and so on. And he finally asked me, where in the world is Antigua and Barbuda? What he did was, he did an interesting thing. He gave me an atlas. You know that atlas with the globe atlas? And so he gave me the atlas. When he gave me the atlas, it was for me to identify where on the atlas or where in the world is Antigua and Barbuda. Now, if you can find that, I'll pay you. And Antigua and Barbuda is not even a dot on the world atlas. So what I did, I said to him, well, I'm from the country from a brother called Isaac Vivian Alexander Richards, the greatest batsman, maybe after Bradman in the world. So he looking at me, he don't know who is Isaac Vivian Richards either. Now, this is Holland, and Holland plays cricket, right? So I thought that I would pull my Antiguan trump card. And so our world famous, and if he doesn't know Vivi, then he's not going to know Bethesda either. He's not going to know where I come from. And so, that has stuck with me, because on that day, seemingly, I was from nowhere, and I was nobody. Because, of course, I had to sleep in the airport. They returned me to England and so on, because I couldn't enter into the country. And so I was nobody from nowhere. What the Vigo Blake and his fellow enslaved did in 1813, a time when the enslaved were regarded as nobodies, built a school and thereby laid the foundation for formal education, not only in Antigua and Barbuda, but the Caribbean, it was significant. Well rehearsed this afternoon by Sister Henry. Building a school in an age of dehumanization, an age of nobodiness, meant that the enslaved were not subjects of their liberation. And the fact that, you could read and write meant that they could reclaim their personhood, their somebodyness. One of my most dehumanizing experiences I've had in life was last year, 2024, in Ghana. The brother stood at the door of no return, what they call the door of no return. And the brother looked at us and said, back then, Once you go through this door, you are nobody. And I wonder how in God's name, made and created in the image of God, that just to go through a door, you become nobody. And it took me back then to Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam, and it took me back to what Vigo Blake did. And so it is in the spirit and the name of those enslaved and to their honor that I accept this award and say thanks to the board of the Bethesda and Christian Hill Vigo Blake Honorary Committee. Thank you.
So, Dr. Thomas is also a product of Bethesda School and Pierce Secondary School. I did mention that Pierce Secondary School is the greatest school in Antigua after Bethesda School. Let's bring up Tungu. But it just dawned on me again, that, we're Hamburg again. Let's do sharpest dressed man in Antigua and Barbuda after David Edwards. Well, you can take over from David Edwards because David Edwards gone. Yeah. But just getting back to Taddy before we go on. Taddy say when he was growing up, there are 13 houses in Seaton. It is entirely possible that Taddy helped Vigo Blake build Bethesda School. Taddy, we're going to talk about that. The gentleman, oh Lord, the gentleman who stands before you. Oh, by the way, I am reading a second one because my good brother Foster wants to read for our good brother Dr. Green. So I am going to read for Ivor Tungu Lawrence, who is receiving the award for distinguished service in sports, law enforcement, youth development, and best dressedness. All right? Early life and education. Ivor Lawrence, a proud Antiguan and Barbudan from the village of Bethesda, was born on the 7th of August, 1963. He began his education at the Bethesda Primary School and continued, unsurprisingly, at Pierce Secondary School, laying the foundation for a life defined by service, discipline, and community leadership. I just want to say at this point, it is not only people who go to Pierce Secondary School get this award. In November 1982, Ivor joined the Royal Police Force of Antigua and Barbuda, beginning a distinguished career that spanned 35 years. Through dedication, professionalism, and unwavering commitment to duty, he rose to the rank of acting senior sergeant of police. During his service, he worked in every major department across Antigua and Barbuda, earning the respect of colleagues and the public alike. Ivor's career included extensive professional development. He completed specialized courses and training programs in Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, Puerto Rico, Washington, D.C. In 1984, he served for 6 months in Grenada as part of the peacekeeping force during the Maurice Bishop era. His advanced tactical training included work with special forces in Nashville, Tennessee, and participation in a select group of 10 officers trained at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, in preparation for deployment to Haiti. His cricketing legacy and mentorship. Beyond policing, Ivor is widely known for his exceptional cricketing talent. Over the course of his sporting career, he scored more than 33 centuries across all formats, along with numerous half-centuries. He credits his teammates Howard Swingy Warner, another recipient of the Vigo Blake Award, as the cricketer who he admired most. His love for the sport extended into mentorship, coaching, and youth development, where he played a meaningful role in nurturing young talent and promoting discipline through sports. A man of compassion, humility, and strong community values, Ivor has always been committed to uplifting others. He is deeply respected for his caring nature and his dedication to service both on and off the field. Ivor has been married to his wife, Eileen Lawrence, for 33 years, and together they have built a life rooted in love, family, and integrity. His journey reflects the spirit of a true Antiguan and Barbudan, resilient, hardworking, and proud of his heritage. I just want to add a personal note. Ivor, his humility cannot be overstated. Apart from how he dresses, right, which just, takes him forward, he is somebody who continues to give back and to do so quietly. He has given back to Pierce Secondary School. He invited me to be part of a gifting of sports equipment to the Pierce Secondary School cricket team, but he just does so quietly. And he is such a gentleman that when he was asked to come to the studio with the fellow awardees on Dave's show, he bought Dave a beautiful pink shirt on behalf of all the honorees. This is the nature of Ivor Tungo Lawrence. So it is my pleasure to present, on behalf of the Bethesda School Heritage Foundation, Inc., to Ivor Tungo Lawrence, the Vigo Blake Distinguished Community Service Award for distinguished service in sports, law enforcement, and youth development.
Good afternoon, everybody. I wanted to say thanks to the organizers. And my award this evening would not be possible if it wasn't for the Bethesda and Christian Hill community. And I want to thank you all very much. As a young boy growing up in Bethesda, I want to thank all my teachers, all my coaches. John Archibald has made me today what I am. John Metric Archibald is the world's best coach we can ever think about. And for hours, for days, for weeks, he has nurtured me on the cricket field for who I am today. Taddy Youndell as well, second best coach in the world, has also helped me as well. Bethesda has a long and a rich history in terms of sports. When you look at about 100,000 people between Bethesda and Christian Hill, we were able to have 3 test players and 1 under-19 player. That has to be a tremendous scenario. Very important for all of us. Bethesda as well has been a legacy in terms of education. We have the Bowen brothers, 2 attorneys at law, Sherfield in the audience today, and Ralph as well. We have a number of teachers who have rose to the level that is beyond comprehension. Bethesda, I want to thank you very much to make me who I am. Without the community of Bethesda and Christian Hill, there'd be no me. So you know what? This award is for the people of Bethesda and Christian Hill. Thank you.
And our final awardee, my friend for well over 45 years. Yeah, he's more than 45, but I'm just going to say 45. I don't want to tell you how old he is. Dr. Colin Everton Green. Dr. Colin Everton Green began his teaching career in September of 1986. It's all right. Not because it's here he's walking so gracefully. His age. He was first posted at the Pierce Secondary School where he taught English A, English B, Geography and History. He was later transferred to the Potters Primary School, teaching in both the primary and the post-primary sections of the institution. In 1990, Dr. Green was posted to the Bethesda School, where he remained until 1995, when he was again transferred, this time to the Glanville's Primary School. In 2001, he was promoted to serve as the deputy principal at the Pears Secondary School on his second stint. This posting lasted only 1 year. In 2002, he was promoted as principal of the Princess Margaret School, a post he held for 23 years. Dr. Green became the longest-serving principal of that institution. From the inception, his student-centered approach made him a name as an outstanding teacher, educator. At Potter's Primary, Dr. Green was the catalyst of development of school sports in a formal way and was a driving force behind many sports days and the identification of young talent. Still dumb up to now, boy. Yeah, plenty of me for me. At Bethesda and Glanville's, his role in the development of the performing arts blossomed. He became a poet, songwriter, and a dramatist, and developed a style of teaching that earned him a distinction from the University of the West Indies on approach dubbed teaching with rhythm and rhymes. But perhaps his greatest legacy was his approach to school administration. He advanced rounded education and a holistic approach towards developing the talent of every child long before it was popular. To him, every child was seen as developed according to their competencies. Dr. Green was also a leading voice for teacher advocacy for over 30 years, beginning in 1993. He served as a member at large, general secretary, and president of the Antigua and Barbuda Union of Teachers. He also went on to serve as the president of the Caribbean Union of Teachers and later became the youngest and only the second person from the English-speaking Caribbean to be elected to the Executive Board of Education International. Even within his formative years, he had the tenacity to stand up to the bureaucracy for what he believed to be right and just. He advocated that a teacher's working condition was a child's learning condition. He is a character. You either love him or you love to hate him. No one could stifle what he views as his voice. Dr. Green is a renowned speaker and facilitator throughout the Caribbean and has conducted training on behalf of universities such as Walden, University of Ottawa, and University of Alberta, just to name a few. He served on working groups commissioned by the OECS, UNESCO, and the ILO. He was a pioneer in advocating distance and online education. One of his proudest achievements is his collaboration between ABUT and Skidmore College to offer accessible and affordable education to mature students. To date, the record shows that close to 100 individuals graduated from that program. I am one of those, many of whom now serve in various capacities of leadership in Antigua and Barbuda. Dr. Green is the recipient of several awards to include the Sons and Daughters of Willoughby, the CUT Leadership Award, the Antigua and Barbuda Trade Union Congress Lifetime Award. He also is the recipient of the Governor General's Gold Medal Award for Outstanding Service to Education in Antigua. He was awarded the National Award, the Order of Merit, in 2019. His motto is simple: I make the most of all that comes and the least of all that goes. To a career of service, dedication, and the love of people, he says he has no regrets. Today, the Vigo Blake Committee is proud to present to Dr. Colin Everton Green the Vigo Blake Award for Distinguished Service in Education and Sports.
me first express my gratitude to those who would have thought me fitting for this award. You really don't have to worry because I've relinquished my membership to the Long Speakers Club several years ago. And I was kind of cautious when I saw the arrangement this afternoon where each speaker, each awardee was given an opportunity to say a few words. I thought that it would have been a long and tiring process. But my wife hinted me to say at the end of it, I think it was an important step because it gives every person a little bit of an opportunity to tell their story. And nobody can tell your story like yourself. And it also gave us an opportunity to learn because I also learned a lot about individuals who went before me. For me, teaching is somewhat of an irony because I was a horrible student in school. But then I think I recognized that I wasn't really such a bad student, I was just a challenging student. And I became a teacher by accident because I wanted to do a lot of other things. And in fact, my former principal then said to me that the only reason she felt the government hired me because they had not yet received my testimonials because I'd given real problems in the greatest school. But then I also recognized that vision and thought can come from any place because many of the ideas that I held as a student are now considered to be novel and embraced by people all over the world. And your education, which you should never allow your schooling to interfere with, the schooling is just a part of that education, became the thing that propelled me forward. And wherever I went in the world, I carried with me the thought of a little boy who went to the Wilkes Primary in a church school like this, who people appreciated you based on the knowledge and the skills that you brought. And that if you dreamed about things, anything was possible. I remember when I was elected to Education International, that was a body that represented 33 million people. And I reflected on Dr. Thomas and his story that we came from a small dot. But that was only significant in the sense that you brought knowledge to the table. My motto gives credit to a teacher from Bethesda because it came from a Tisdale poem about aging and about appreciating legacy. At the time when Mrs Thwaites was teaching us that poem, I have no understanding what its significance would have been. But it is what has driven me over the years. I cried when I was told that I was going to be the principal of Princess Margaret School. Most people would have been happy because my dream was to become the principal of Pierce Secondary, the school that I went to. That's what I wanted, and I was miserable. I knew very little about Princess Margaret, nor cared much about Princess Margaret. I wanted to preserve the legacy of one of the greatest institutions of learning in this country, the Pierce Secondary School. I have to be cautious when I say that, because today, many people don't associate me with Pierce Secondary. Actually, they call me the man from Princess Margaret, when I'm really from Willoughby. Yes. But I just say this to say that I am really grateful for this award, and just to piggyback on what Ralph said to me, that he felt that this was the greatest award, because this was an award given to you by your own people. And when your own people recognize you, that recognition is significant. And I'm Bethesda people. Yeah, I am Bethesda people. A whole section of my family is from Bethesda on both sides. So I want to thank you so much, and I will treasure this award and explain to my children the significance. I also want to thank my wife who is here with me as well, because we run a teaching family, both herself and I are teachers. My daughter is also a teacher at this point in time. And the greatest thing of a teacher is to be a catalyst, to inspire change without necessarily changing yourself. Thank you so much. Truly appreciate it.
I just want to quickly come up and say that Dr. Green is following in the footsteps of Dr. Thomas, who wanted to go home, and Dr. Green also wanted to go home, so he had to thank his wife. And I also want to thank my good friend, Tungu, because it's only because Dr. Green knew that Tungu will be finely dressed that he pulled out the mauve suit. He pulled out the mauve suit for today, and he looked right fine in it. But that is how we roll when you go to Pierce Secondary School when they're easy. Franz?
Ladies and gentlemen, let's congratulate again all the awardees this evening. And I would just like all the awardees to start assembling themselves in the front here, facing the stage. While they do that, we will have a presentation by the Essence Band, followed by a march past by the police band to celebrate our awardees. And subsequent to the police band's, before the police band's presentation, we'll have a presentation by the Sobey family. And so while the Essence Band is playing, if the awardees can assemble themselves facing the podium in front of the proceedings here today. Right now we'll listen to the Essence Band. Ladies and gentlemen. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank the band. We'll ask our awardees to take their seats. We'll have a final presentation by the Sobey family. Families preserve the stories that help define who we are. And so we will have a short presentation before we start our wrap-up proceedings.
Good evening to everyone. I know some of you probably don't want to leave this area. Chapel Hill is the most beautiful, picturesque place that you can be at this time of the day. The breeze is nice, it's not warm, it's just what an experience that I experience every time. I was born one step away from this symbolic ground called Chapel Hill. At this point, I would like to call two persons to the podium, Mr. Foster Roberts and Mr. Boyan.
Mr. Boyan? You and Mr. Foster Roberts. Mr. Foster Roberts.
No, you come first. This is yours. Check out the and take this off. Wow, can you see from the back? You can see? Yeah, I can see it. This is presented to Mr. Ralph A.G. Boyan, Esquire, in recognition of your exceptional dedication and steadfast commitment to constitutional reform, achievement that have significantly strengthened the foundation of our nation's democracy. You are, because of Vigo Blake, Bethesda and Christian Hill School, established 1813. We are because of Vigo Blake. Mr.
It's AG's Antigua government. GA is Greg Alfonso, but I take it on just as Atungo. I like it. I take it on behalf of my family, my community, my wife, my son, and every single person that has contributed to making me who I am. I stand on the shoulders of exceptional people. I am not exceptional. I was just exposed and raised by exceptional people. Thank you very much.
Mr. Roberts? Presented to Mr. Foster Roberts in recognition of your outstanding contributions to the Bethesda Christian Hill community and your unwavering commitment to create the Vigo Blake legacy. You are because of Vigo Blake. Bethesda Christian Hill, established 1813.
I accept this award on behalf of all the shoulders that I stand on. And just like Ralph said, that we had great teachers who made us who we are today. And so I'm forever grateful. So thank you very much, Toby. Thank you very much to your family. And on behalf of me and my family, we say thank you very much.
Okay. Now, in conclusion, I have a brief ceremony. It's called a libation. There's an African saying that says, a people who lack knowledge of their past are like a tree without roots. So, in the name and the spirit and remembrance of our ancestors, I pour this libation, and we can all at the end of it say, I see. I say. You can say, I say. I say. Thank you very much.
I just want Mr. Sobey to know that if anybody slip and fall in the wet water there, that we are not responsible. So everybody see each other water today, so if people slip and fall down, nobody's so worried.
We just want to indulge you for a few more minutes as we wrap up. No meaningful event succeeds without the dedication of many individuals working together. To formally express our gratitude, please welcome Miss Marianne Daniel.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before I begin the vote of thanks, I just want to give God all the thanks and praise for bringing us all here safely and for our uneventful program that we have there. We want to thank the Antigua and Barbuda Police Band for their national anthem and all the items they rendered for us this evening. We want to also thank Mr. Foster Roberts for welcoming us so warmly to this evening's program, and for Mr. Franz de Freitas for so ably hosting the program this afternoon. We want to also extend a hearty thanks to Reverend Morose, I'm not sure if I pronounced the name correctly, thank you, for praying to God on our behalf, and to Mr. Ralph Boyen, the chairperson of the Bethesda School Heritage Fund, Inc., for his opening remarks. The Governor General, His Excellency, for bringing us words of greeting and also for his remarks. We want to thank the Essence Band, the Rising Star Seal Orchestra, for their renditions this evening. We totally enjoyed your presentation. To our featured speaker, Miss Anne E. Henry, Esquire Casey, we want to thank you for your words of address. We truly learned a lot from your address this evening. We also learned that history is about people, and we are supposed to carry on our history no matter where we go. We want to thank the awardees for gracefully accepting our awards this evening and for the work that they have been doing in the past. And we pray that God will give you the strength to continue the work which you have been doing. We want to thank the Sobey family for their presentation this evening, to the two awardees that they presented to, and also to our sponsors, for without them we would not be able to host this program this evening. The Bethesda Methodist Church pastors and members, the Antigua and Barbuda Royal Police Force Band, News Corps Observer Radio, Antigua and Barbuda Broadcasting Service, Rising Star Seal Orchestra, the Spectator, Ecstasy Sound, and Alvin Archibald for setting up the sound system and for setting up the tents as well. The Bowen family, Seclusive Antigua Barbuda Luxury Accommodations Inc., Boundary Bites, 18+1 Restaurant, Wadadley Events, Crab Hole Liquors, Idea Media, Dwayne Baba Thwaites, Dr. Lenworth Johnson Esquire, Dr. Rhonda Francis, Colleen Paul, Jenny Roberts, Eugene Bowen Francis, Craig Omad, Cosford King, Rosalie Hughes, Sandra Elaine Phillip, Leah Comic, Ian Joseph, Foster Roberts, Honorable Kes Johnson, Sherfield P. Bowen Esquire, Houston Sobey, and Biggs Carvental. We want to say a hearty thank you to all the persons who turned out also this afternoon. Without you, our program will not be this successful. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to give a special mention for the sound people, the technical engineer and Aesthety Sound. You should hire them for the next event that you are having. The one who plants a tree knowing he will never sit in its shade has begun to understand the meaning of life. May we continue planting seeds for our future generations. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your support. Thank you for showing up here to celebrate Vigo Blake. May God bless Bethesda. May God bless Antigua and Barbuda. May God bless Vigo Blake. And may God continue to bless us all as we depart from this place. We will see you all again here May 30th, 2027, if God spares our life. Enjoy the refreshments and the music that will be played by our resident steel band. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, man, everything goes for man. What's everything good? Yeah, man. Hey, what's going on with the base, man? I didn't know you in town. I didn't know you in town.